What is going on, guys? MMA Island team, we got the fight picks, and it's Halloween. It's not Halloween yet, but this card is Halloween. Some pretty good fights. It's kind of one of those diehard fan cards outside of the main event, obviously, because obviously we have Anderson Silva in his final fight of his legendary UFC career. 2 weeks in a row, we got final fights in legendary UFC careers. But hey, let's move on to this fight, man. And this is a good fight. We got Adrian Yanez taking on Victor Rodriguez. And I will pass it on to Zach to start us off.
Well, Adrian Yanez, if you know me, if you've been around like me and my content creation for the longest time, then you'll know that he is my fucking boy. The first interview I ever did with Octagon Island, Slick Diaz, MMA Island's very own, was with Adrian Yanez, and when he was in LFA. So I've followed his career for a long, long time, and to see him get into the UFC, there's not been very many better moments as an MMA fan, if I'm being honest. But as much as he is my boy, I'm looking at this unbiasedly. He is an absolute machine. You know, primarily, like before, like the UFC, Giannis was mostly known for a slick ground game in his BJJ. But now, like what he showed in his Contender Series fight against Brady Wong was just absolutely incredible. Those combinations, you look at that knockout sequence and you can see the pure precision that he has in his hands. It is absolutely incredible. And he drew I can't think of this word right now, comparisons to a young Jorge Masvidal. And that's what you'll see a lot when it talks about Adrian Yanez. You'll see he looks like a young Jorge Masvidal in the cage. And I was going to pick him against Aaron Phillips. And now that he's fighting Victor Rodriguez, I'm going to pick him even more. And I was watching James Lynch talk about this because it's very, very true. Victor Rodriguez has fought in Alaska Fighting Championships. This is one of the more suspicious MMA organizations because they tend to pad their opponents. They tend to pad their fighters' records with very low levels of competition. And Adrian Yanez, he comes from the different thing. He comes from LFA. There is a reason why so many successful UFC fighters come from LFA. Just off the top of my head, I can name, like the most successful one I can name off the top of my head is Kamaru Usman, UFC welterweight champion. He came from LFA, and there's so many others, so many. It's because they know how to match up their fighters with high-level competition. And this was kind of the same story for the Contender Series fight. Adrian had fought much better competition than Brady Wong, and he just kicked his ass. That's what's going to happen here. Adrian Yanez is better than Victor Rodriguez every single place this fight goes. He is better on the feet and he is better on the ground. I know he's a huge favorite, but he is a huge favorite for a reason, and Adrian Yanez is absolutely a parlay piece. This is his fight to lose, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so I don't like to bring my I don't know why, but I stopped talking about the locks. I don't like to mention my lock, but I think Zach will appreciate it that I make Adrian Yanez my lock of the fight. The
I do
whole
appreciate
card,
it.
my lock is Adrian Yanez. Man, a couple things to talk about. Obviously, you mentioned the Dana White Contender Series KO. Absolutely amazing KO. I actually was one of the few Dana White Contender Series fights that I watched, and I should really start checking them out because seeing crazy KOs like this, and this guy is just very, very slick. Not even a minute into the fight, and bow, 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 fight's over. Man, that's the thing you see, and I think the people. I think they mentioned this on the broadcast is that Jorge Masvidal comparisons do come from the way he looks, and it's also the way he fights because this dude's got some very, very good knockout ability combinations, and he is a fighter from what you can see. Talking about Victor Rodriguez, it's kind of an interesting career here. So this guy started off his career 0-2, KO loss in the first round, and then a submission loss in the second round. 2 fights in a row, submission and KO loss, 2 finished, 0-2 with all finishes. And then he bows down to the 4-0 squad, and he wins 4 in a row, all by KO. So shout out to this guy. That's a very good bounce back to after getting finished your first 2 fights in your pro MMA career to get 4 KOs in a row. Very, very impressive. Things you got to look into when you look at this are kind of just the level of competition, man. That's one thing that's really, really important here, just to look at these guys. Caleb Miller, a guy who's 1-4, been knocked out 3 times. Next guy, Tristan Lowe, a guy who is also 1-4, but also been knocked out 3 times as well. just to even talk about these guys, you're looking at this as the next one, 4-3, been knocked out twice. He hasn't really fought these guys who are crazy good at competition. The next one after that, 8-2, very good record, but also been knocked out twice. When you're talking about Adrian Yanez, a guy who is very, very slick with his combinations, very, very powerful. Like he's on the train right now, especially with these short fill-ins, man. This is what I'm telling people. I'm telling all my friends. I'm telling all the people that I'm close with. Now is the time to start betting on UFC fights, because one thing I've noticed, and I've noticed this for a long time with the UFC, is they kind of set fights against other opponents that they kind of expect people to go on and go out and beat. I think Aspinall versus Bordeaux I think 2 weeks ago was one of the ones that I can point out, because when you get these short fill-ins fights and you get these guys that are coming in on short notice, they're kind of just expecting the guy who was slated to fight in the first place to win, because and it kind of just brings those eyes, because you expect them to win in particular crazy fashion, because they're fighting a lower ranked opponent. And then you see these sort of fights and they're kind of just giving these not very known guys a chance. And I think that's a really much the case with Victor Rodriguez here, a guy who's really only had four wins in his career. So that also kind of reminds me of last week's card. Who was it? Why am I blanking on his name? I know his name. 8, it was like an 18-second
Khan Rachmanov, or no, not him.
No, it was, what's his name? I'm blanking.
What fight?
More Phil Paz.
Oh, Phil Haas. He's not short notice.
Yes, no. So, but he who is he fighting in that again? What's his name?
Jacob Malkoun.
So fighting Jacob Malkoun, a guy who's 4-0. I was thinking, man, there is no way that Malkoun is going to win this fight, just because you're not tested. You're not tested yet. You have 4 wins. That's not really something. Like, I always hold those undefeated fighters in very high regard, but if you're 4-0, you're not tested yet. And when we're looking at Victor Rodriguez here, a guy who's 4-2, you can't really put too much stock into it, because we've seen the vulnerability out of him, and we haven't really seen him prove himself offensively in winning fashion. Obviously, he's done the best job that he can in this last 4 fights. Best job you could really do, getting all KOs. It's just a tough ask for him. It's really, really a tough ask for Victor Rodriguez to go out there, go up against a guy with the talent of Adrian Yanez, a guy who's never been knocked out in 14 pro fights, and expect that knockout streak to not only continue, but that win streak to continue as well. So I'm going with Yanez, man. I just think it's pretty obvious for me. Looking at this guy having the height advantage, the combination skill advantage, just thinking this guy's going to go out there. I'm thinking he gets a finish. I'm thinking he'd be able to knock him out in the first round, second round. But haven't ran that through my outcome calculator yet. But that's just what I think, just because I'm pretty confident in Yanez. I'm pretty confident in Zach's favorite fighter. Ooh. I will definitely go with Yanez on this one. So make sure you guys are also letting us know who you guys got first fight in the card, man. Show your knowledge and make sure you guys are letting us know who you got. So I got Yanez. Zach's got Yanez. Let us know who you guys got. Like I said, really want to make sure you guys are just showing your support. Just letting us know who you got. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you guys are also checking out the other Fight Pick videos.